Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fighting the Stigma. I am Chuck Allen, and this is Eric Buss. Today, we are doing a little special thing for Christmas holidays because I know this is a time of year when people have a lot of joy, but a lot of people also have some sadness. So we wanted to talk a little bit about reflections number 8, which is on depression. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it to Eric, and we're going to listen to him talk about reflections number 8.
Reflections 8, depression. The best way to describe it, heavy, pulling me down. It's about lying flat on my back with a 50-pound weight on my chest. It's a pressure at my temples. A dark fog. It eats joy, disconnects. I have so much to be grateful for. I have it better than so many out there. I achieve, I love, I act. Yet the thrill is short-lived. It is replaced with an ache. I wear a smile because it makes others feel comfortable. Then they don't ask questions. I don't want to talk about it. They ask, how's your day going? I respond, great. And yours? Some of that's true. Nothing bad happened, really. But I don't feel great. I feel sad, empty. I remember being happy, but in this moment it feels distant. Like a breakup, I miss it. I long for it. So I try to keep busy, try to focus on what's in front of me. Seeking small victories, holding on to them when they arise. Still, at times, I find myself standing in the middle of a room, staring, caught in a fog, unable to maintain a clear thought, unable to connect with the moment, lost. Sometimes it presents as anger. The ache in my belly swells and rises. It escapes through my voice. I can't even hear it. My wife can. My children can. That asshole that cut me off on the freeway definitely can. Sharp, rash responses to simple situations. Guttural reactions to simple situations. Incapable of feeling happiness, I reach for the attainable, aggression. The fog clears when I'm seeing red. A part of me is satisfied by it. A pressure release valve opens up, allowing me to vent in the unhealthiest way. Then, behavior is contrary to my character. The guilt settles in and sadness resumes. I don't know that I'll ever feel joy as I presume others do. I don't have all the answers, but others depend on me. My kids depend on me. For that reason, I make it my passion to seek the solution. I make it my passion to anchor into that which is greater than myself. I make it my passion to learn, to grow, to love. In this reclamation of joy, I've learned a few things. Things that ease my suffering, things that bring me moments of happiness, things that bring hope. Creation. Whether it be art or business or writing, I experience joy and creativity. I anchor into the creative process while avoiding becoming critical of my own work. I listen and the canvas tells me what it wants. It's not about me. It's about breathing life into an idea. Generosity. When I'm helping someone else, I'm incapable of feeling sorry for myself. Knowing that someone has benefited from my effort brings joy. It brings value, purpose. It can be as simple as lending an ear to someone in need. My reward isn't what they can do for me in return. It's in what I've done for myself by helping. Boundaries. I know when to walk away. For me, social media can be a powerful trigger. I am passionate. I feel deeply. So, when people are at odds about whatever topic is currently on the table, I choose wisely with whom I engage. If I can lend insight, I do. But if my words are not likely to be well received, I keep them to myself or find a way to express myself without being provocative. It's one thing to allow myself to be vulnerable, but jumping headfirst into a snake pit is just asking to get bitten. Health. I invest my time and effort into my physical well-being. I do this with the knowledge that my mind and my body are connected. Endorphins are a powerful antidepressant. They're free to all, and the side effects are desirable. Beyond the neurochemical impact, exercise and eating right allows me to anchor into my well-being. I send my subconscious a message that says, I'm important. My health is important. I notice that when I send these messages to my subconscious, it rewards me with more positive outlook on life. I could go on, and perhaps I will another day. Today, my message is this. If you identify with the first half of this reflection, you are not alone. You are loved, and you have value. It gets fucking hard, I know. Sometimes you can't see past it. Sometimes getting through the day feels impossible. You are loved. You deserve happiness. You deserve joy. Make it your life's work to find it.
It won't be a giant payday.
It won't be a giant payday, nor will it be at the bottom of the bottle. It will come with great effort of learning to love yourself. The greatest rewards lie on the other side of hardship. Never give up. Okay, so that's reflections number 8. We're gonna do like we do and let Chuck jump in and give his thoughts on it, and then I'll share a little bit. I know at the moment I was feeling a little bit of that, and definitely continuously kind of feel some of that during the holidays.
It's that time of year, man.
What's that? Yeah.
Definitely that time of year, you know?
Yeah, no, and I'll tell you, I lost my father, it's been 10 years now? Yeah, or 12 years. And we always had a big Christmas together, my family.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really exist so much anymore. My wife's
So he
family
was kind of the glue that held all that together?
Yeah. And so my wife's family does. And so I come out here and we're embraced, and I've got my kids and we've got family and trees, and you know what I mean? Like right. We've got this beautiful thing, but there's also that, it's bittersweet, I get to enjoy this, but with my immediate family, it's a little bit more spread out, and we're still connected and we still love each other, but we don't celebrate the holiday like we used to, which
right.
is, so there's
yeah. Well, that does lead directly into kind of, I'm stoked that we're actually talking about this one right now, because as everybody, maybe at least everybody that's following us kind of sees, I've gotten myself turned around. Things are going good. I'm on a good path. I'm trying new things. I'm working on all this stuff, which we'll get into later. But for whatever, I know the exact reasons, but for whatever reason, the past 2 days have been extremely difficult for me, and it has a lot to do with depression, because it's gotten to that point, that time of year where we have to. So, okay, this is kind of hard to navigate without getting too into it, but a couple of weeks ago, me and my wife hung out for the first time in a long time, and I got really excited about it. It was a lot of fun. I was really stoked. As it turns out, that's not necessarily the way it was going is not necessarily the way it's going to go. So we've been kind of back and forth with each other, and now it came to this weekend where we had to decide where the kids are going to go for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, all that kind of stuff. And normally she has them on the weekends and I have them during the week for school, because the school's right here. And plus, I don't know, it just works that way. It turned into kind of the old way we talk to each other. And there's nobody in this world that can make me sad that much except for her. For whatever reason, I feel like I need to have her approval for a lot of things that I really don't. But what it was she wasn't being argumentative about it, but I was almost, I think in the back of my mind, I was thinking, man, wouldn't it be great if she said this? You know what I mean? But that doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden, I'm having an argument with this guy that has nothing to do with her, but I get to take it out on her. You know what I mean? And that leads to me feeling guilty for being a dick because of my own hang up. You know what I mean? And that leads to depression, right? So Saturday, this is all kind of happening on Saturday. Saturday, I was like, fuck this. I was pissed off. Drank a whole fifth of fucking vodka in about 4 hours. I got up the next morning, and for me, the next afternoon, which was about 9 a.m., because I usually get up around 4 or 5.
Right.
And there was just no way I was going out and doing my run. I didn't do anything. I just laid around all day yesterday. But I think it was good for me that all that happened, because it definitely snapped me back into reality today, because I realized, holy shit, yesterday was terrible. You know what I mean? Like, there was nothing that good that came of any of that. And then I talked to Eric, this morning, because we're filming this on Monday. And obviously you could tell that there's a little bit of a change in me from yesterday to today, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a hard time of year, especially when you're dealing with kids that and being estranged from a spouse or whatever. So hopefully we can talk to you guys and get you guys a little bit of our perspective on things that are maybe helpful or our experiences that we have gone through. Yeah.
No, it is. It's also kind of a marker of or just symbolic of how fragile we can be, and how dependent we are on other people. And a part of that is developing your own self-reliance, and a part of it is just recognizing that we are, and that things are going to affect us, and that's why we're even talking about this stuff, is because it's developing tools around it, aside from doing something that's going to screw up your day or your liver or whatever. And
right.
the scarier thing is not even that, because in and of itself, drinking a fifth of vodka, it's not great for you.
No.
But if you're doing it for that reason, if you're doing it to self-medicate, those are the times, at least in my case, where I'd end up getting arrested. Where I'd end up acting out or hopping on a phone call and burning some bridges.
Right. Right. And that's the thing, man. Like, what I have to do. It's not like, honestly, this is the first time I've really even drank since I've been on this kind of path.
Sure.
And generally what used to happen would be like, I'd be right on the phone texting saying, man, fuck you, fuck this, yeah, fuck everybody, I'll suck my, but I even as depressed and like extremely self-medicated as I was, I had the presence of mind to put away my phone and just sit here and chill out, whatever, just sit in my sadness and not fucking let it be unleashed on everyone around me anymore. I feel like I needed that one night of just like, fuck this, fuck everybody, I'm just going to sit here and be sad. I really didn't need the next day, because when you get older, you can't just bounce back from that shit anymore, apparently.
Yeah, no, it hurts. It hurts. Well, and I'll say that the next day, though, the sort of advantage, and I think, in my experience, having done that many times, is the next day I didn't feel pressured to connect with anybody. So I kind of did need the hangover day. It was kind of like this is my excuse to not put any pressure on myself to deal with anybody else, and like just wallow. And wallow in my own shit.
Man, and that's what I did, dude. I didn't do shit. And like I said, I've been real diligent with getting up nice and early, getting up and doing my run like 5 a.m. every fucking day. There's just nope, that shit wasn't happening.
Yeah. No, and I think it happened, and you can't change what happened, and you can't beat yourself up over it. But it is a good thing to notice when you're starting to go through this.
Exactly, and that's kind of the whole point of me even bringing this up, is that I don't have to talk about that, because it's kind of, number one, it's kind of embarrassing, but not really, because I notice the problem there, and I understand. I honestly understand why I did it. I understand why it was not good, but I also understand that there is benefits to what happened as far as learning and getting past doing shit like that again. Because I am a person that has fucked up over and over and over when I was younger, but I tend to learn from my mistakes nowadays. What? All these gray hairs, they come with that kind of, I hate to say wisdom, because I don't find myself very wise, but it gives you a perspective that's a little different, that that, man, that wasn't worth doing again.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I just had kind of a thought about that, and about depression in general, and my experience with it, and my experience with like the binging, and even on drugs and all of that stuff, and my experience in working out and doing like some of the positive things. And I think a lot of depression, at least for me, stems from powerlessness. I feel completely out of control, and I'll tell you, like, it's been a rough couple weeks for me. My oldest daughter is struggling with some some significant mental health stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so my wife and I both feel completely powerless in this. And I won't go into details, but it's stuff that you're like, oh wow, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Heavy,
Oh, absolutely.
heavy stuff, and it's stuff that I can't fix, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't control, and I can't, you know, I just, you know, when I shake somebody and go, just stop it, you know, I fucking love you, just stop, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that sensation of powerlessness, and it had, you know, last weekend it did kick some stuff up between my wife and I, because we both feel powerless in this
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
And I did write a reflections on boundaries, and, you know, keeping people out of your life that are causing a significant negative impact. But then also there's going to be people that that you can't do that with,
You can't. Yeah.
nor would you want to. And so developing tools around that. But yeah,
Yeah.
that
So
powerlessness. And
I definitely need to, you know, because, you know, that's the thing with, because obviously that's well, I'm not going to say it's a more dire situation or whatever, but I can completely relate to it in the fact that I never really thought about it like that until just now, that it's a powerless thing, because the way that me and my wife communicate is not good. And it's not good in the way that we're like arguing all the time. It's not good it's in the way that it's all like doing these texty things and messenger things, and the power is gone there, because what she does that she knows is what drives me fucking crazy and makes me depressed is she'll just ignore shit that I say, and that's immediate. That's my trigger.
all right,
If I'm getting ignored, I'm immediately
you want to be
you know
heard.
what I mean? And she uses that constantly as her main weapon of choice.
Yeah, ours is the opposite with my wife and I. I actually want to go to text because we'll do this. You know what I mean? And at a certain point, you know, written, it's like I can say my piece and you can read it and you can hear me and you can respond, and it ends up being, you know,
absolutely. Well, that's the way that I always feel like it should be in my mind. Like that makes sense.
Everyone's
to me.
different.
Yeah, but it just never is. You know, and it's not like talking on the phone really brings a whole lot more to the table. We have issues with communication, period. But it's just that one thing that she knows will push me.
Yeah.
If hey, what's going on? What's up with the kid? Blah, 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 whatever. And then I just hear nothing for like 4 hours. I'm like, okay, well, I know you're just sitting there. You know?
Oh, and you're bouncing off the walls,
right? I'm like looking at the thing every 5 fucking seconds, like, well, what's going on? And she just doesn't. It just that's the most that's what fucks me more than anything.
Well, sure, because you're desperate, and you know, and you want something, and you feel like this other person isn't receiving you, hearing you, or cares, and that is very painful.
The most devastating thing
when you're so invested. Yeah, no, and I totally get it. But yeah, to go to my point of like the powerlessness, I had my first pseudo reflections post I did about a year ago. And this was at a time when you know, my industry of choice, my business, like things were going, you know, kind of rough, you know, with the FDA and all this stuff, and it was unfair, and it's so full of propaganda, and it's all this stuff, and I was so stressed, and I was stressed out about like so many things, and so I made this post, and I say, and I had reflected on it a little bit. I had sat with it, and I'm like, you know, there are so many things that are out of my control. And I want to control them so bad. Then they're completely out of I can do what I can do, but you know, I can't affect, you know, the greater. I'm not the president of the world. So I felt really powerless. And so with the first reflection, this is what kicked it off, to be honest.
Really?
I'm like, what do I have control over? How do I establish the sensation of control? And I just sort of realized that I am the only thing that I have 100% control over. And sometimes I don't, you know, but
I was just about to say, and not all the time.
but I can work my way toward that. And so that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to hit the diet. I'm going to work out 6 days a week. And I announced it to the world. You know, I had said, this is where I'm at now. This is where I've been. You know, and this is where I'm going to be. This is what I'm doing, and I'm starting it today. And I showed a picture of myself with my shirt off, and if you look on my Instagram, like I was quite a bit like chubbier and softer, and I still worked out.
Looked like a Greek god.
No, not then though. Yeah, I had let myself go a little bit, and I just sank into that powerlessness. And so I set that intention of like, there's one thing that I can control. One is my body and what I eat and those kinds of things. And also what I can work on controlling is my responses and reactions to other people. Because the reality is I cannot change anyone. I can't make them say that thing that I need them to say. So I have to accept what they're saying, and I have to be grounded enough to not let it affect me on like a deep spiritual level.
Yeah. So to the point that it affected me this weekend.
Yeah. I can get sad about it. That's okay. It can affect me, but to have it affect my entire world, I'm not willing to give up that power. Like there's certain powers that we just have to give up, but that one I'm gonna hold on to as much as I can. Sometimes I'm gonna lose it. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I suck at this, but I have that intention. I carry it with me that I will maintain some semblance of power within myself, and that is going to be a positive force.
So and so kind of along those lines, what you were talking about, a year ago when this all started or whatever. Do you think that having put it out there and kind of almost forced accountability, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, hey, this is what I'm doing, everybody.
Huge.
If I don't do it. Okay, so now that leads exactly to where I'm at. That is so fucking huge for me. That is what, it's not the only reason, but it's a huge factor in what makes me get up every morning and go out and do what I'm doing, is because I said I was going to do it, and people know that I'm going to do it. And yesterday, when I didn't do it, I felt like a piece of shit. And this morning, when I did do it, I feel great.
Back. Okay, so everybody watching, this is a really cool podcast to listen to. It's Joe Rogan interviewing Naval. I forget his last name, but if you find that podcast, it's really, really good. Naval is a tech entrepreneur. He came from his mother was from India, and I think he was actually born in India, but they came and
I think I'm pretty sure I've seen that one.
Poor folks, and he invested himself into becoming very wealthy, and he did, and he talks a lot about wealth in his podcast and stuff like that. But the one thing that I really heard that stood out was social contracts. So when and he had talked about, like, the person wanting to quit drinking. Now, if they just tell a couple of friends, hey, I'm going to try and slow down on drinking or whatever, they're probably not that serious. Mm-hmm. But when they hop on Facebook or Instagram or whatever and they say, this is my last drink, they're very serious, and they feel a sense of accountability. And that's what you're talking about.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
There it is. There's another thing that I just want to barely touch on, is because I see it a lot. And it definitely talks about it in Unfuck Yourself, which is an awesome book.
Yes,
but is reinforcing certain things, because I see a lot of like really negative posting, and it's this really stuck posting, right? And I get it, people are hurting and they want to express it and they want support, but I also feel like you are defending the crappy place that you're in. It's kind of like this is why, and then so you're
excuses.
justifying not living the life that you want to live.
Mm-hmm.
You will see in my posting, it's mostly very positive things. Now, am I positive all the time? Hell no. Like sometimes I'm going through it. I'm not fucking perfect, and I go through it, and sometimes shit really sucks. But I don't want to anchor into that. I will acknowledge it within myself, but what I write down is usually going to be where I'm going. Mm-hmm. It's sort of my ideal self, and I actually posted about that too. I said everything you read is bullshit. It's not bullshit. It's what I aspire to be. It's what I push towards.
Yeah. It's something that's yet to come.
Yeah. Now on a one-on-one conversation, if you and I are talking and I'm going through it, then I'm going to share all of the feelings, because you can hold space for that, because we're friends, and hear me. Maybe give your 2 cents, but even just listening is good too. We can do that, and it's an exchange. But when I go to the greater population, I'm usually setting hardcore intentions for where I want my life to be. I will not defend my life falling short of what I want it to be. You know what I mean? I will not do that. Things get so shitty, and I've been homeless. I've been fucking strung out. I've been in jail. I've fucking done all that, and I had every excuse in the book for living that way.
Yeah. Oh,
fuck that.
And that's
I don't
the thing,
want to
man.
live that way.
Right. That's the thing. And that's something that I have gotten from a lot of your posts, and talking to you, and obviously reading the book, Unfuck Yourself, Gary John Bishop. It's a great book. Check it out. And a lot of the podcasts that I do is that you can't allow your past to dictate your future in any way. You have to set yourself in the moment and visualize what it is that you're really looking to accomplish with this second, this day, this month, this year, this lifetime. Right? You can't be held up by what you've done, because it's just not going to allow you to do what you need to do.
Right. Yeah. Another piece of it is don't expect perfection out of yourself, because we're going to set these intentions, and then we're going to fuck up, and we got to hold space for that too. So if I get a lot of questions on motivation, obviously, because I do the whole lifting thing and diet thing or whatever. How do you stay motivated? I don't, I don't stay in that motivated place, Right. I get moments of it, and sometimes they last a while, but sometimes I'm down in the fucking dumps. I tell with gym stuff, my best suggestion for that, if you're developing a workout routine or whatever, is how do you get motivated to work out every day? Here's my rule. If I don't feel like working out, fine, but I'm going to get dressed for it, and I'm going to walk in the doors of the gym.
Right.
Now, if I turn around after one set and leave, fine, but I'm going to walk in and then turn around, because I'm setting that pattern that this is what I'm doing, and I'm not going to judge myself for it, but I'm going to walk in the fucking door.
And what's interesting about that too is, so every morning when I get up, I don't necessarily want to go out and run.
No.
Right?
Yeah. Tired.
No, I don't. But I'll tell you this: every time, just like you said, every time I go in that drawer and I get the shit that I wear every morning to do it, I put it on, I get a little more motivated to step outside the door, right? I go in there, I fill up my water, I get a little more motivated. I put in my earphones, I start listening to whatever I want to listen to, I get even more motivated. And then once I'm on the street, I'm happy as fuck. You know what I mean?
How many times
that doubt is gone by the time I'm on the road.
Yeah. How many times have you set out a distance and then totally blew past it?
Almost every day.
Right.
Yeah, because and that's something that's been happening, because at the beginning I was just like, man, I'm just going to go until I die or whatever. But then, a couple weeks into it, I started realizing, well, maybe no, I'm going to set this is where I'm going to go. I'm going to go 2 miles a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just going to do that. And then I get, because, with my earphones, it'll tell me how long I've gone or whatever. And I'm like, man, I feel fucking good. I'm just going to keep going. And I find something new. I find a new place. That's what I like about what I'm doing in the mornings. It's fucking quiet out. Most of the time it's still dark, but by the time I'm getting towards the end of that run, I'm usually someplace I've never been.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not planning out routes or anything. I'm just going out the door and, hell, let's go right. Okay, now let's go left. Where's this going to end up? Who the fuck cares? Let's just go. Let's just fucking make something happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think intrinsically we are. Again, the unfuck. We just listened to Unfuck Yourself, so that's going to be prominent, I think, right now. But that we're intrinsically set up for success. That we are successful in all of our endeavors. We're living a shitty life. Well, we're successful in that. Our bodies, and our minds want to be successful at the direction that we point it to. And so when you start, it's like, okay, and it starts to feel good, and then you just push through it. And then you know, like you said, the rest of your day just ends up being a little bit better when you put that
1,000 times better, man. And that's the thing. When I was I mean, Saturday, I wasn't depressed. I was pissed off, right? There's a difference, clearly.
Yeah.
Sunday, I was deeply fucking depressed. And not because of the incident with my wife. It was because I felt like I let myself down by allowing the night to happen and then for me to not be able to do what I've been trying to do every day.
Mhm.
That's where the depression came from. It wasn't from the interaction. It wasn't from the, oh, I feel bad because I got drunk. None of that shit. Whatever. I can get drunk if I want. I'm a fucking adult. But
Right.
the fact when I can't get up in the morning and do what I know now after doing this a month or whatever, I know that's what I need to get that day going and to feel good that day. And I can't do that. That's where you get depressed, or that's where I get depressed, you know, because I've let myself down.
And then, of course, the chemical thing that happens with drinking.
Oh, 100%.
Because that in and of itself it's a depressant, you know. And so, definitely something to recognize, because I think often it's a coping strategy, and you know, it's self-defeating, you know, pretty much. It's not something to judge, and you know, we've all been there and done it and whatever. But like I said, anything that you can put awareness around without even necessarily, don't fucking judge yourself over it, you know, like, because that's self-defeating. But putting awareness around it, like, oh, you know, oh, that's there, and here's the motivations behind it, and here was the results and whatever, then you learn.
That's what I think is fucking huge about this whole thing that happened this weekend, is that what you just said, the awareness of what happened and understanding how to cope with it. That's not something I would have ever had before. I would have just been like, oh, I'm a fuck up, whatever. But now I understand why it happened, and I can get past it. Yeah. Whereas that shit that happened yesterday would probably drag on all throughout this week. It probably would have fucked up Christmas for my kids. Probably would have fucking made me an asshole for God knows how long. But now I have some of the tools that I need to get past, especially just a little stumble. You know, it's just a little stumble.
Yeah.
It's no big fucking deal. Why would I beat myself up over it for a week when I can just get over it and get back into fucking getting myself where I need to be?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, get grounded and go.
Right?
Yeah. That's it. So yeah, no, I think that's cool. And I think we just sort of stumbled on that today, but the powerlessness is a really good, it's a really good point. I mean, the other thing about sort of depression is, you know, we talked about anxiety really being motivated by worry of the future, what's going to happen. It's again, that's a powerlessness thing, but it's really feeling like you are not in control of your own destiny, and so you're just worrying about what's going to happen. But depression tends to be about the past, you know, whether it's yesterday or 10 minutes ago or 10 years ago, and I do think it's accumulative. You know, and it's things that we haven't addressed over the years that kind of build up, and they set a tone for our thinking, right? You know, and so again,
I agree, because you know, it wouldn't affect what I would be doing today so much if there wasn't a whole pile of shit behind me that I'm dragging. You know what I mean? Like, I'm dragging all that fucking bullshit. And then it pops off. Now I feel like I have a clean slate because I understand that. And I understand why it happened. You know what I mean? So that the idea of it building up is absolutely, for me at least, 100% the case.
Yeah, you don't have to attach this single failure, and I'm not talking about the drinking thing, just in general.
Yeah, just in general, yeah.
You don't have to attach this single failure to every failure you've ever had in your life. You know?
Right?
And
but it's hard. It's hard.
We tend to paint ourselves with this broad brush, you know, of like, I'm a fuck up. You know, I remember walking around and I had this visualization of a dark cloud over my head, you know, like on, what was it, like Peanuts or whatever?
Yeah, where just Charlie Brown, he's just got the single cloud.
Yeah, that's how I felt. And I thought I felt like intrinsically I was bad. There was something that I did, or something that I was made up of, that was just not good. You know, and it would get in the way of any potential success that I ever had. You know, through through a practice of like the mindfulness thing was huge for me in that, but and working out and everything. Like I just had to get enough wins and start learning how to detach from all the losses.
Yeah. So that's good. That's a good segue. I was going to, I wanted to kind of pick your brain on what are some of the things that necessarily that you do or that you've seen work in the past for other people to kind of get out of the funk, especially, I mean, this time of year is tough for a lot of people. And I'm just interested to know, like what are some of the things that are, well thought of in the community, as well as what has helped you as far as getting out of that kind of cycle of
out of the funk.
Yeah.
I mean, action into right thinking is definitely
absolutely.
a big part of
I agree
it.
with that 100%. That's
yeah,
big. That's big for me. That's definitely my thing.
If you don't feel like doing it, then you probably should.
Right.
It's one of those things.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, when you asked me to do this podcast, this is something that is not the most comfortable thing for me, because we've talked about this and the fear of being judged and putting yourself out there, and whatever those negative sort of thoughts are. But my fear around it was sort of the motivation to say yes, because I'm like, oh, I can learn from this. I don't want to do it, but I need to,
Right.
I need to do this for myself and hopefully to help some other people too, because that, again, that's for myself too. Nothing is altruistic.
Nothing is. And and you know what? And I know for a fact that it's a lot for me that I even came up with this whole idea, but it's also a lot for me that I asked you, because I know that you can help me. So, I'm getting as much out of it as hopefully everybody else is, and I know that you are, So I think that it's kind of a beautiful thing that it all came together when it did.
Yeah, no, I think the timing and everything is sort of perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're actually doing my main suggestion, which is as soon as you started like doing these things, like the running has become consistent. Like there's so many things that are kind of coming together, and for me too, it's I'm grounding in solution. I'm grounding in solution, and I'm talking in solution. Even if I talk about the negative things, and you see in that reflections, there's a whole lot of negative there. Like we have to look at and accept the negative. Like I understand that, but it's followed by solution. And so we're saying this exists, this has happened, I feel it, it's painful, and I have tools around it that I can move forward with. So if you're talking about like the tools, I wrote a few of them for me right there. Charity is a big thing. We for one, if you're watching this, you have it better than like 90% of the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? You've got kids in India or China or whatever that are starving to death right now. You know what I mean? If you
that's something that's lost on a lot of people too.
Yeah,
is the fact that if you have the ability to stream YouTube, then you're kicking ass in this world.
Yeah, not to downplay. It's not to downplay what you're going through, because it's
not at all. No,
and it's real. And the aspect, the gratitude is huge too. Like, yes, I don't have everything that I want, and I'm really scared for my future and all of this, and it's all coming crashing down on me. And I'm grateful that I'm here today and my belly's full, and that I have an opportunity today to get into solutions. So the gratitude piece, but yeah, charity is huge, because if I've got $5 in my bank account and I give you $1, that makes me feel like I'm in abundance, even if I don't have that much. You know what I mean? It's like my cup is overflowing, and so there's that aspect of it. And
giving doesn't have to have some sort of giving. Anything of yourself is important, whether it's this much or that much. You're still going to get the same kind of, at least for me, you're still going to get the same kind of feeling from it. Where if I bought you a house, that's fucking amazing. But if I gave you change when I walked out of the fucking 7-Eleven, hey, at least I tried.
Yeah.
You know?
The biggest gift is listening.
Yeah.
The greatest gift you can give somebody is listening. With sometimes people want advice, but sometimes they don't, and recognizing that too. But sometimes you just need to be open to listening, and just hold space for somebody to go through what they're going through. And I think that. Yeah, so there's a lot. Charity is a huge thing. Obviously, fitness I feel like is a huge thing, both neurochemically and intentionally. There's that sort of that duality that's kind of happening there.
Well, I can actually, I can definitely say that and I don't necessarily even look at what I'm doing as a physical fitness kind of thing. I mean, I know what it is. I know that it is. It's silly to say that me going running every morning isn't about being physically fit.
Right.
But I get so much more mentally out of being out there than I ever will physically. I mean, I'm an old broke down some bitch, right? So I mean, I'm doing my best. I'm out there and I'm doing a couple miles, 3-4 miles if I'm lucky.
It's good.
But it's not about me getting my sweat on, me losing fucking weight or whatever. I swear to God, it's just the clarity that I get, especially early in the morning when it's quiet out and it's just me and my headphones or no headphones. That is what's propelling me forward every day. Mm-hmm. And that's what's making me be able to have this different attitude across the board.
Yeah.
And
it's no matter how chaotic everything gets, you have that.
Yeah. I have that peace. I have that quiet.
Yeah. So, and they can't, they can't take it away from you. Yep. And if you get hurt, you shift into something else, because
I tried that fucking elliptical, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that's a whole different fucking thing, isn't it? Holy shit, it was raining cats and dogs, and I went out there and I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll just do 5,000, 6,000 steps on this thing. I got 3,000 in, I was like, okay, I got it. I'm gonna die. Okay, that was good.
I prefer it. My old knees don't do pavement.
Right, I'm worried about that.
Yeah, well, I ran the marathon in 2010, I think. And I was just dumb about it. So I actually increased my calorie intake significantly. I gained weight training for the marathon. I was running 17 miles twice a week at 240 pounds. So, exactly. I just destroyed my knees, and so
that's what happened to me when I was in the Army. Was my knee got completely fucking blown out.
Right. Yeah.
And then I was, I don't know, maybe 190 around there or whatever. And now, I am 250, and I'm doing this every morning, and I'm doing it out on the road, and I'm going up hills and down hills and shit. And I'm just waiting for that fucking morning when I'm coming down a hill and everything just goes bing, and it's done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But until that happens, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. I mean, just listen to your body. Just listen to your body.
I haven't had any days of real bad soreness or anything, so I think I'm doing pretty good. I'm not killing myself. I'm not sprinting 2 miles.
Yeah.
So it's good. I like it.
And
also something that you didn't bring up as far as, because it's not something that you're doing, but medication for me, the Zoloft that I'm taking, I think has been huge for me to get away from being in that kind of funk. For whatever reason, whether it's the medicine or the fact that I know that I'm doing something mentally in my mind, I know that I'm trying, whether it's with the medicine or whatever. It helps.
It's an investment,
right? Exactly. And today is going to be my first day. They bumped me up to where that I was supposed to be to begin with, but they bring you up gradually. So we're going to see how it goes from here. But I don't want anybody to think that there should be any kind of, especially stigma around medication, because it has really been helpful for me too.
No, to be honest, I've been seriously considering jumping back on just a low dose antidepressant. Because again, there's a lot of things that I feel powerless in right now, and there's a lot of things that are really hard, that are really affecting me, and sometimes you just need a bridge to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can definitely, even the interactions that I spoke about at the beginning, like with my wife, that shit, like I said, that's what makes me crazy. That's what fucking hurts me the most. But I could tell, even in the interactions that I've had recently, or even this weekend, I reacted completely differently.
Yeah.
I wasn't immediately like, fuck you, this is bullshit, blah, blah, what. I said, okay, that's fine. Just please try and get back to me. A couple hours later, hey, could you maybe hit me back? I had a question. As opposed to immediately within an hour being like, you can rot in hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a confluence of all these things, but I do believe that the medication has been huge.
Yeah. No, and I think sort of the next step to that is that being so grounded that I'm going to allow you to have your experience, whatever that is, and not attach to it, and just trust that it's going to be okay. Of course, we've got our boundaries that we want to set, and you want to see your kids on the holidays, and that stuff's really important.
Yeah, that was the hardest part. That was the hardest thing, going back and forth with that.
Yeah, but yeah, you're going to have your experience, and I don't need to join you in that, because like people like us, we'll kill ourselves over it. You know what I mean? Like
exactly, and that's not even a fucking exaggeration.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, being able to hold space for somebody to shoot. I get mad when people get mad and it's not even about me, because and that's that empathy thing, and I do have a difficult time sometimes telling my own emotions from other people's. That becomes really difficult if I experience somebody really upregulated. I've got to be really in my practice to keep myself grounded, because I will go right there with them. For better or for worse, I'll feel your sadness, I'll feel your anxiety, I'll feel your anger, and so being able to hold space for somebody to have their experience without giving ourselves up to that.
Right. And I mean, I can relate to that somewhat, but me, I can maintain a very even keel appearance outer, what I mean?
Right.
No matter what's happening, I can be very stoic, but most of the time what it'll be is just me not wanting to open my mouth because something bad will happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm finding it more and more recently. That's crazy. I never even really thought about it, but I do find myself understanding the way somebody else is projecting their feelings towards me in a way that I never either couldn't do or didn't give a fuck about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now I feel like I really can pick up on that a little bit better. Even if I don't outwardly change, which is kind of the way that I am, I'm feeling it more.
Yeah. So that's a good question to ask yourself when you're having those times is this mine? Is this mine or is this yours? And can I allow it to be yours? Can I allow you to have your experience? And if it is mine, what is it stemming from? Because I don't believe that it's just this situation. It's coming from a whole lot of things. And again, as we are raising awareness around all these things, and we recognize that, we can kind of say, oh, this has a lot to do with, A, B, and C on top of this. So let me just deal with this, because I recognize it now. I'm going to make a practice of letting some of that old stuff go and just be with what's happening now.
Right.
And it might still fucking suck.
Absolutely.
No, maybe 100%. Not as bad as it would have.
Yeah, but and that's great. That kind of brings everything full circle, because what I kind of think that this was about, for me at least, was understanding that I'm starting to gain outer perspective. I can see what's happening from a different way now than I could before. It was always just all here, all projected this way.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to understand why I am doing certain things, and I'm able to kind of course correct, which is something that I've never been good at. If I'm going this way, better get the fuck out of the way, because I'm going to keep going this way until I fucking flame out.
Instead of Call of Duty, you're Diablo.
There you go.
Before we started this, we had a conversation about video games, and I was explaining first-person shooter, and then so we had talked about Diablo, but Diablo is sort of panned back. You can see all the enemies, sort of around you, like you see more of the big picture. Whereas first-person shooter, you're just seeing what you do.
That's such a good analogy. I was total first-person shooter. Now I'm a little bit more of that RPG.
Right. Anything you can do to make a connection.
Absolutely. Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, no, that's
All
really
right.
valuable.
Well, I think we rocked that one out pretty good. I mean, is there anything else you want to end with?
Um, there was one thing that I wanted to kind of connect with a
Yeah.
little bit, and that's just talking about things that you can do. And one
Okay.
thing
Yeah. Great.
with the dark cloud and all that, and my experience in that, one thing, and this came up recently, and it came up about a year ago when I was sort of doing all this stuff,
Mhm.
is I'm like, if my industry completely collapses, which it's been a fight, it's been a fight. What do I have? And I got down on myself because I'm like, I had started this thing, but I didn't credit myself for anything, if that makes sense. And so I was doing it, but
Oh yeah.
I'm like, what I'm gonna work for fucking McDonald's. I mean, and I have a degree and I can work with vets again, but it doesn't pay what my family needs,
Mhm.
And so I'm like, and I'm like, what would I even? So I talked with my father-in-law, and he was really helpful in like just naming off all the shit that I've done, even from like doing the customs where, month to month I was falling short. So I bought an airbrush and started painting. I got really good at it.
Mhm.
Like there's things I have a lot of value, and I think we all do in our own way, but we're not always able and willing to look at it. And so even if you sit down and just write down all the good things about yourself, and it might be a list of 2 today, but you think of 1 tomorrow, and then also setting small goals and checking them off. Write it down. Like, today I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then as you
Physically,
accomplish them,
physically in front of you.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Write it.
And
I mean, because that goes back to accountability, man. When you have something written on paper, it becomes real. When you
yeah,
when you check off boxes in your mind,
right. Yeah. In the brain tends to not work. Verbal is good. Writing is good. Anything outside of yourself, but expressing it is going to be huge. And again, it changes the way that you start thinking of yourself. And you go from being someone who is doomed to fail to being someone who gets shit done. And I think we all have that in us. I think we all have it in us. But the awareness, like, we've got to be confident in it, and not always confident, but we have to have a practice in building that confidence.
Mhm.
If that makes sense. So
Oh,
that's another little one that's worth saying.
love it. That's outstanding. No, that's great. That I think that's a great way to actually end it, man.
Yeah.
What do you
Okay.
think? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm good.
Okay. So I just want to say thank all of you guys for, number one, waiting on this episode, because holidays and stuff, so we kind of pushed it back a little bit. But be with your loved ones, and don't let anything get you down, man. It's a time of year for joy, and try not to let some of those things that are creeping in this time of year get to you. So
Just one thing, in this season, we know that we recognize that this can be a hard time for other people, and if we're not experiencing that, bringing awareness around what other people are going through, just maybe raise your awareness on other people, and if they need an ear too, because I think that's really important, and especially when you've got the statistics like 22 veterans kill themselves every day. This is the time where it gets more difficult. I shared with you that I'm going through sort of a rougher patch, right? You notice I don't have any hair on my face, right? This is something that happens, you know.
yeah,
And
I noticed that. I didn't, I wasn't sure. Maybe you just felt like doing it, but you never know.
well, no, and sometimes that's the case, and I've got a lot of tools, so I'm okay. And it really, I do this about every year. But when I was working in treatment, this was like really important. Is if you see a veteran, walking around every day, and then one day he shaves his head all the way down to the skin, that is a great opportunity to invite him in and say, "How are you?"
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Any
Because
major change,
yeah.
physically, outwardly, is a sign of something inside.
Well,
Generally.
again, powerlessness.
Mm-hmm.
I feel powerless, but I can do this.
Right. I can
can
make myself look different.
Yeah. Yeah, but gauging whether they need to talk, or it's just, if you do see changes in somebody, it may not look like depression, Lots of people are really good at hiding it with a smile, you know, but just how are you, you know, and really listening and not trying to egg it on or anything, but I think that's important in the holidays too, is not only to take care of ourselves, but to be open to listening to someone else if they're going through it too. I think that's important.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. So this is Fighting the Stigma. I am Chuck Allen. This is
Eric Buss.
And we thank you for hanging out with us. We'll see you
All
next
right.
time.
Thank you.
There will be some